to unbox this, and I hope that you don't mind that I do. Keep in mind I'm doing everything one-handed while trying to film this, so... Didn't want to wait to open this because I've been waiting for a very long time, but I thought I would share this with you. The oversized card. +2, put a 1/1 green elf druid creature token on the battlefield with tap, add 1 forest to your mana pool. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Draw a card for each creature you control as a -6 ability. You can use this planeswalker as your commander. Here's the box. Guided by nature. Deck list. Your tree folk token. They're double-sided. So here's also a wolf token. It's a 1/1 elf druid. The beast token. Elemental. Another beast token. It's pretty wicked. Same thing. I love the artwork so far. Here's an elephant token with an elf warrior on the back side. Same thing. And the 3/4 gargoyle. Backside's an elf warrior. Land. Different artworks of the land. Can't play a commander without a lot of land. Here we have our non-basic lands. Tap, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Tap, sacrifice Crystal Vein, add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Of course, you gotta have an Evolving Wilds. Tap, add 1 Colorless your mana pool. Sacrifice Ghost Quarter. Destroy target land. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle his or her library. Don't know if you can see that, but that's pretty sick looking. Tap. Add 1 colorless to your mana pool. 3 colorless. Tap. Sacrifice Haunted Pengraph. Return a creature card at random from your graveyard to your hand. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of these lands have sacrifice ability. I'm sure you'll be able to see that later on. Havenwood Battleground enters the battlefield. Tap. Tap, add a forest to your mana pool. Sacrifice Havenwood Battleground. Add 2 forests to your mana pool. And of course, you got your commander card. Freyalise, Land of War's Fury. Then you have Titania. Let me see if I can get this to focus again. When Titania, Protector of Argoth, enters the battlefield, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever a land you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put a 5/3 green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Uzuri, Renegade Litter. Pay a forest, regenerate another target elf. 2 colorless and 3 forests. Elf creatures you control get +3/3 and gain trample until end of turn. Ridiculous. Joraga Warcaller. Multi-kicker, colorless in a forest. Joraga Warcaller enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each time it was kicked. Other elf creatures you control get a +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Joraga Warcaller. Sylvan Safekeeper. Sacrifice a land. Target creature you control gets Shroud until end of turn. Elvis Archdruid. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. Tap, add a forest to your mana pool for each elf you control. It's pretty ridiculous. Immaculate Magistrate. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature for each elf you control. I must say, I am so excited to play this deck. Ren's Run Packmaster. Champion and elf. 2 colorless in a forest. Put a 2/2 green wolf creature token on the battlefield. Wolves you control have Death Touch. Masked Admirers. When Masked Admirers enters the battlefield, draw a card. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay 2 forests. If you do, return Masked Admirers from your graveyard to your hand. There's some draw power. Wolfbriar Elemental. Multi-kicker forest. When Wolfbriar Elemental enters the battlefield, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token on the battlefield for each time it was kicked. Wolves with Death Touch, I like. Creeper Hulk, Trample. 1 colorless in a forest until end of turn. Target creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 and gains Trample. Silk Lash Spider. Reach. X and 2 forests. Silk Lash Spider deals X damage to each creature with flying. So that's how you deal with the flying in this deck. Grave Sifter. When Grave Sifter enters the battlefield, each player chooses a creature type and returns any number of cards of that type from his or her graveyard to his or her hand. elves, must I say. Primordial Sage. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may draw a card. Rampaging Baloths. Trample. Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 4/4 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. Soul of the Harvest. Trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Thunderfoot Baloth. Trample. And then you see the Lieutenant ability. As long as you control your commander, Thunderfoot Baloth gets +2/+2, and other creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample. Get wrecked. And then we have our Siege Behemoth. Hexproof. As long as Siege Behemoth is attacking, for each creature you control, you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So many good combos in this deck. When Tornado Elemental enters the battlefield, it deals 6 damage to each creature with flying. You may have Tornado Elemental assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. 6/6. And we have a Terastodon. When Terastodon enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into the graveyard this way, its controller puts a 3/3 green elephant creature token onto the battlefield. And we have a Hydra, Lifeblood Hydra. Trample. Lifeblood Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When Lifeblood Hydra dies, you gain life and draw cards equal to its power. Beastmaster Ascension enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on Beastmaster Ascension. As long as Beastmaster Ascension has 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures you control get +5/+5. Song of the Dryads. Enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent is a colorless forest land. Wolf Caller's Howl. At the beginning of your upkeep, put X 2/2 green wolf creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of your opponents with 4 or more cards in hand. I didn't want them to get werewolves with death touch, huh? Put a 3/3 green beast creature token on the battlefield for each creature put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. Another good card to deal with the flying problem. Destroy all creatures with flying. Overwhelming Stampede. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Collective Unconscious. Draw a card for each creature you control. Wave of Vitriol. Each player sacrifices all artifacts, enchantments, and non-basic lands he or she controls. For each land sacrificed this way, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then each player who searched his or her library this way shuffles it. Praetor's Council. Return all cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Praetor's Council. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Very beneficial for the cards that you saw before that made you draw a lot of cards. No maximum hand size for the rest of the game. That's pretty intense. Sylvan Offering. Choose an opponent. You and that player each put an XX green tree folk creature token onto the battlefield. Choose an opponent. You and that player each put X11 green elf warrior creature tokens onto the battlefield. Emerald Medallion. Yeah, green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Let's see your Sundial. Landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 colorless. If you do, draw a card. Predator Flagship. 2 colorless. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. 5 colorless. Tap. Destroy target creature with flying. Gargoyle Castle. Tap, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. 5 colorless, tap, sacrifice Gargoyle Castle. Put a 3/4 colorless Gargoyle artifact creature token with flying onto the battlefield. That's where your Gargoyle token comes into play. Oran Reef, the Vastwood enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, add 1 force to your mana pool. Tap, put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. Jungle Basin. Enters the battlefield tapped. When Jungle Basin enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return an untapped forest to your control to its owner's hand. Tap, add a colorless and a forest to your mana pool. Myriad Landscape enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. 2 colorless, tap, sacrifice Myriad Landscape. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Put them into your battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. Slippery Karst. Enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, add a forest to your mana pool, and it's got cycling. Terramorphic Expanse. Sacrifice Terramorphic Expanse, search your library for a basic land card, put it on a battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Tranquil Thicket. Enters battlefield tap, tap, add a forest to your mana pool. Cycling for forest. Then we get to that more elves. Of course, you gotta have the Elvish Mystic. Tap, add a forest to your mana pool. Elvish Sky Sweeper. 4 colorless. And a forest, sacrifice a creature, destroy target creature with flying. Essence Warden. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Llanowar Elves. Elvish Visionary enters the battlefield, draw a card. Priest of Titania. Tap, add a forest to your mana pool for each elf on the battlefield. Sylvan Ranger enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it onto your hand, and shuffle your library. Thornwield Archer. Reach and Death Touch. Got your Well-Wisher. Tap, you gain 1 life for each elf on the battlefield. Farhaven Elf. Enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. If you do, shuffle your library. Imperious Perfect. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. Forest, put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. Reclamation Sage. Enters the battlefield. You may destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Timberwatch Elf. Tap. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves on the battlefield. Titania's Chosen. Whenever a player casts a green spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Titania's Chosen. Wood Elves. Enters battlefield, search your library for a forest card, then put a card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Drove of Elves. Hexproof. Drove of Elves' power and toughness are each equal to the number of green permanents you control. Permanents, so anything green. Lys Alana Huntmaster. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. We got Harrow. There's an additional cost to cast Harrow, sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them out on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Hunting Triad. Put 3 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens onto the battlefield. Reinforce. Discard this card, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Overrun. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. Grim Flowering. Draw each card for each creature card in your graveyard. Desert Twister. Destroy target permanent. Skull Clamp. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. Whenever equipped creature dies, draw 2 cards. Equipped 1 colorless. Then you got Soul Ring. Tap, add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Moss Diamond. Enter the battlefield tapped. Tap, add 1 forest to your mana pool. Swiftfoot Boots. Equipped creatures hexproof and haste. Equipped 1 colorless. Commander's Sphere. Tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice Commander's Sphere, draw a card. Assault Suit. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has haste, can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, and can't be sacrificed. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of equipped creature until end of turn. If you do, untap it. Lore Seeker's Stone. 3 colorless, tap, draw 3 cards. This ability costs 1 more to activate for each card in your hand. And that, my friends, is Guided by Nature. This is my first opening, and I hope that you don't mind that I mispronounce a few things. I am totally new at this, but I thought that you would like to see me open my commander and have fun and enjoy. I can't wait to play this bad boy.